Check, check, check. Microphone. Check, check. Big up, everybody. Just bear with me while we get stuff set up. Need a charger. All right, so we are live. We have an interesting guest coming tonight. I'm just waiting for everyone to get set up. Mr. Pelu, I sent you the link in your Discord. Just someone throw something in the chat. Let me see if you can hear me. Make sure you guys can hear. Am I audible? Am I audible? Check, check. Am I audible?
Hello, hello.
Oh,
I'm audible.
hey, big up. Yep, I can hear you. Hello, everybody. I hope y'all can hear me now. I was talking. All right, big up, big up. So, yes, we in the house, people, with a special guest tonight, Chief Elder Mountain Eagle of the Washoe tribe. Just bear with us. Hopefully, did you send him the link?
Yep, I just sent it to him. When you sent it to me, I just sent it to him. I told him to click on it. I sent him the link. So he'll be here shortly, everybody. I'll check on him if he can't get out. He can't get on, but he's here. He's ready. He's definitely there. He's definitely ready. He's gotta make sure he gets on. But yes, everybody. Hi, everybody. This is Mr. Pelu. I'm with Jen. You know, we have Elder Mountain Eagle, Chief Mountain Eagle, and everybody. Thanks for coming out. Our original impetus behind this was to raise awareness for Natives Americans especially after our Thanksgiving show. So we have our chief here. I can't wait to get him on. I mean, he should be here any minute. So give us the time. I'm gonna check on him.
All right, cool. So yes, we're gonna be an interesting conversation. We're gonna hear from a native side, their perspective. I'm gonna ask him a couple questions. If you guys have questions in the chat, if we have time, I'll see if he is willing to take them, but only if they're respectful. I'm not dealing with any trolling or anything. Big up Gerd Deep. I'm glad you're in the house. Um, you got a wrench, so hold down my chat tonight. Let's keep it classy. And yeah, hopefully he'll be able to connect.
You see him coming? Is he coming in? I mean, he said. 'Cause I called him. He said I interrupted the StreamYard when I called him. Let's see when he comes on. He should be coming on anytime soon. Let me see if click on again. See how overpowered it.
Lucky man, I had to get on a waiting list for some PS5s over here. Here you are. Welcome.
Yep, man. Yep. Chief Mountain Eagle.
Welcome. Can you hear
can't.
us?
I can barely hear you guys. I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, we could hear you.
Well, I can't hear you hardly.
Oh no.
You're in the show. Maybe someone can hear you.
Hey,
Yes.
I can hear both of y'all. I can hear both of y'all.
What's that?
I can hear both of you. Okay, hey, try turning your volume up. Turn your volume up.
I did already. I did that already. I'm not. I already know that part. There's no. Yeah, I just I don't have any sound. I barely hear you guys.
Oh, should we try Zoom will give
Hold
us
on. Hold on. Hold on. I don't know.
uh, I wonder what can we do to hmm. Is that
Hello.
better? Is that any
Oh, there
better?
you go. Yeah, better.
Oh, perfect. Welcome. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm all right.
Good,
We're
good.
all right.
We're so happy to have you.
We're here with my brother Jeff. Hold on. Hi.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Where's your screen at?
Oh,
Pretty narrow screen, huh?
yeah, let's see if maybe a different layout.
We'd have to sit there holding hands in it. We don't want to do that. No, it's not this time around. I mean, I like you and all, but yeah,
Well,
just bump
welcome
anyway.
you guys. We're so happy to have you. I could do a solo, but that's I don't want to put you on
Hello.
the spot like that. That's fine.
No, 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 no. Yeah, yeah, y'all both could. No, no, no. No. Let's focus on our guest, Jen. Let's focus on us. I mean, let's focus on them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be in the screen. That's all. We can talk. I can hear you guys.
No,
It's
yeah,
all
no,
good.
no, no, no. I think you
Oh,
should
there
put
we
us to the
go.
side and put them. Yeah, I think you should put us to the side and put them on the top. I mean, the
Uh,
main.
I don't know how to
You do
do
that?
that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Like the opposite. Not, you see how yours is like this? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
Oh, you know how to do that? You know how to put them? 'Cause
I could just
that
do
would
a
make it hot.
solo,
Do a
but
solo.
cinema layout or no, what's that? Picture in picture. I could just put them up and take us out. That's the only thing I can do like that.
No, we can move the screen on our end. That's it's all good.
No,
Oh, that's
okay, no,
fine.
this is good.
We're good. We're good. Okay, welcome you guys. Welcome.
Yeah, like this. Yeah.
I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for coming on. We're so happy to have you. Um, so just a little introduction. My name is Jen. My friend, my co-host is Mr. Pelu, and we had started um, before Thanksgiving. We did a show on the truth about Thanksgiving, and if it's something that should be celebrated or if it's something that should be reconsidered. I think the conclusion that I came to was I think everything that is taught to children in school about Thanksgiving should be scrapped and they need to start all over again with the truth. Um, so I know very little, and I was hoping to, maybe if you want to do an introduction or if you want to get right into it, but we would love to hear your perspective on the holiday, the origins. Is it disrespectful? Is it, all the meat and potatoes, we could say.
All right. Well, let's see. We'll do it this way first. Before we start, we'll do a prayer here so that we bring the spirit into the circle of our
Yeah, yes.
discussion here,
And Mount
as well
Eagle,
as
before you do that, I'm sorry for breaking in with you, sir. The only reason I want to jump in before you start that because we also want to do a special dedication on this show for our friend Wolf. Our friend Wolf, he's a part Native American young man. He's a former Marine. He connected to his family not too long ago. His Native American side. His dad is half African American, half Native, and his mom's white. But he didn't grow up with his Native American side until a couple years ago. Well, not a couple years ago, but more recently in life, he wasn't raised in the Native community, but he started connecting back to the Native community,
So Pelu, Pelu.
yeah.
So let's do it this way. When we say do a prayer in the beginning, that's what we're talking about. I don't
No,
have to do the prayer, but I don't have to do the prayer. Any one of us can do the prayer. And what you're saying right now is when you do the prayer in the beginning like that, that's what we're doing is just exactly
no,
what
no,
you're saying.
no. I'm gonna tell you the reason why I'm saying no is more to it. Is more to it because the reason why said it because his auntie that's connected to him is his grandfather's his grand auntie was auntie his auntie his closest relative who's still on the native tribe. She's actually sick and they said that she's almost dying with cancer that she like they already gave her like a time limit. Said that she has a very little to go, so he's very sad. So I just want to say that we're dedicating the program to her. So before you pray, if you could have that in your mind too, or before you do whatever you have to do it as a native, I just want I want her to be acknowledged because of our friend. So that's the reason why
Yeah.
Oh,
If we could
I
maybe
want to make a
include
dedication.
her in our prayer, that would be great. Awesome.
all
Okay,
right.
we'll
Well,
let
that's
you
good.
lead,
That's
sir.
good. That's good to know because it's what we always do. We're real personal when it comes to discussions like this, and if someone in the circle or the family is not feeling good, that's the reason we do the prayer. That's the reason we say something to the spirit all the time before we do meetings or before we do anything. We eat or we drink water. We pray for our water. We give thanks for these things, but we also our intentions is put into that. So as the brother was saying, Pelu, brother Wolf side families having a tough time, with uh, cancer to where we're all the families are having a tough time in this world. And so when we speak to the spirit, we're always letting them know where we are in life and how we're going to be strong and stand to those things, so that all the families that we're connected to will feel the strength from within our circle of heart energy, heart light energy, to where the lights inside of all the other people in the world can start to burn bright again, so that the families aren't sick anymore. People aren't carrying the medicine as much anymore, so it's really hard for the family to maintain a way of life, a family life, because we're all been divided and separated and gone different directions. But as we say the prayer, just like now, we're speaking to the spirit. People in old days used to talk about it. Don't talk to yourself because people will think you're crazy. But when you're talking to yourself, a lot of times it's not. You're talking to your spirit helpers. You're talking to the spirit that's listening. You're talking to everlasting life energy around you, the microwave. So our intentions are always going into it as love. So that's all we have to do now is add these energy into the microwaves that surround Earth, so that the Creator can know and the Earth can know and everybody can know that we're doing our job, because our intentions every day, every moment are always in prayer. So just like now, as our intentions go into this gathering here, this meeting here, for what we're going to say and what we're going to do, the heart energy and medicine we put into it is the love we have for the future of living here on in this continent with all the people that we're here with right now, so that the light energy can become bright again, and the original people of this continent can heal and become um, the carriers of a good management role, and not owners of anything, so that we can become what it was that we were intended to be, so that people here on this continent now that are learning that can become good managers just as we are, as we carry that staff with you. So creator, grandfather, grandmother, iguit at gidi kita leo gatuka kamangao. Ida gasuka kamangao hanglao, tanglao, iwelmel in pawalu. Uh, Also Pelu and the host, I forget her name. bless their families and bless their lives and bless what they do and this gathering we're having here, so that we can uh, finally be in the divine moment of divine time of our divine self in the matrix of the new paradigm that's waiting for us to be what it is that the new paradigm is have to be in order for to be the good example for the next 26,000 years. So as we pray and think about those things, we think about our path and our life. Keep us healthy, keep us strong. We have the will to do these things. We have the choice to do what we need to do and use what we have. So may the Creator and the land, animal, air, and water and plant bless us as we do a good job, and they can say the same thing about us, that they're glad to see us because we bless them too, and they're not afraid of us. So, umangawe, umangawe, umangawe. All right, good.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you
Salam,
for
salam.
that. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it.
So I guess I introduced myself. My name's Art George, English name, but my Washoe name is Dalak Patongi, Mountain Eagle.
Jeff Brownell. Just been around here helping out and became family, so I've been absorbed.
Yeah.
And so the new paradigm for me is to do it the right way this time around, which means loving. You know, that's it.
And,
no more sacrificing, just helping. That's the new sacrifice.
and so for me, it's interesting to be in this light, because when we began to talk the last time, and I heard you guys do the interview. I have different hats I wear, but the Tomoshe is the head man of the Washoe. We didn't have chiefs, we had head men, and so different families carried the staff. I carry the one for my family now. So as a Tomoshe, we carry these different hats so that we can be prepared for anything that's coming at us, to have to deal with, make a decision, but is based on the decision of our alignment and balance in our territory and where we live. And so when I was listening to you guys talk, I remember I didn't have the paper with me, but when you're talking about Columbus, not Columbus, Thanksgiving, I kept thinking to myself, this is interesting, because I thought I knew where Thanksgiving came from myself. I thought it was the native people were giving people that we gave the hungry people some food so they can eat. And they learned how to become givers, but we didn't. We didn't teach them how to give. We just fed them, and they survived. It wasn't the part that I thought it was, the giving part. That didn't even exist. So my misconception was that the Americans learned how to give. We didn't teach them how to give because they came here with the Thanksgiving in their mind already. So Thanksgiving was here before they came to this continent. So my whole thing was blown off this continent. So that's great, because I was really going kind of stir crazy, kind of wondering about this Thanksgiving thing on how it was going to be described. But as Jeff's here, he happened to be talking about these things, and how he's here is fortuitous, because now we're going to get the story even further back than this continent on Thanksgiving.
We go back before, when it happened to us as Saracens. The Catholic Church took over, and then we had religious freedom, and really that was what it was all about, is to get away and make it new. The only thing is everybody else came along, and before you know it, there was the pillaging and raping and all of the killings, and
But what happened to the Catholics and the Christians you said fought? That story. That was part of the one before this continent.
Yeah, they just started taking over everything, and burning people at the stake if they didn't believe the way they did. And
but the Catholics were killing the Christians. You were telling me.
Yeah,
So this thing came
Luther and
before
all
this
that.
continent. That's what I'm talking about. It came before this continent. So wherever it came from, when it came here, they didn't learn Thanksgiving here. They already had Thanksgiving in their own mind conception of from the Thanksgiving that they believe it to be, not from us just feeding them. They didn't learn Thanksgiving here. They had that in their mind already, right? I mean, that's what you were telling me.
Yeah, it wasn't just a thanks taking thing.
Right, right. They were dominating somebody else with what they believed this was, and so for me, it just didn't make sense how we fed people and they forgot how to feed others because this continent still has homeless and hungry. If they learned how to take care of each other like the native people showed them, then how come there's homeless and hungry, or
I
how
guess
come
Mm.
there's hungry? Period. So that's what I was saying, and then your program was talking about one of the things was they didn't know that the native people even was still alive, that they didn't see anymore, and what were we doing, all these
Mm.
questions were very powerful to me because I've been waiting for somebody to ask those questions so that I can give them the answer. But all these
Mm.
years I've been wanting to give this answer when I didn't have the answer. I thought I did. It took me probably, was it 40 years of thinking I knew I had the answer till the end of that 40 years when I finally go, you know what? Spirit gave me the answer now, but it gave it to me
Yeah.
in a physical form, which is that document. That's the end result. But the whole beginning part was as we're returning back to the circle, returning back to our identities, um, the answer to who we are as Native people and where we're going. Uh, that's actually the pinnacle of the path that's going to be created in this new paradigm by new paradigmists moving into this new paradigm, and those in America are going to create their lineage by their American lineage, their truthful in lineage by being honestly and truthfully who they are from this day forward. Now you become a full-fledged practitioner, just as I was when I came here to this earth. I've just been doing it for 10,000 generations. But
Mm.
anybody on this continent, if they become a good practitioner of giving and making sure everything around you is in alignment and in balance so that this earth is balanced before we believe that we should be able to take from it, then that's when I know that we're back in alignment with what we're supposed to be doing.
Mr. Mount Eagle and for friendship, I want to read us a brief history about the early Thanksgiving celebrations in Europe before they came to America, just to give everybody historical context of of the things that we're talking about. We covered it last time a little bit, but I want to rehash it. This is just to give an account of where the name came from before the even settlers came to America. Anyway, history of Thanksgiving. Prayers of thanks and special Thanksgiving ceremonies are common amongst most religions after harvest and at other times. The Thanksgiving holiday's history in North America is rooted in English traditions dating from the Protestant Reformation. So everybody knows about the Protestant Reformation is when the Protestants were fighting the Catholics because they want to leave the Catholic Church and do what they want to do instead of be under the Pope of Rome. I mean, for more to it, everybody research Protestant Reformation. But anyway, it also has aspects of a harvest festival, even though the harvest in New England occurs well before the late November date on which the modern Thanksgiving holiday is celebrated. In the English tradition, days of Thanksgiving and special Thanksgiving religious services became important during the English Reformation in the reign of Henry VIII. Before the 1536, there were 95 church holidays plus 52 Sundays when people were required to attend church and forego work. Though in 1536 reforms in the Church of England reduced the number of days in the liturgical calendar to 27. The Puritan party in the Church of England wished to eliminate all church holidays apart from the weekly Lord's Day, including the evangelical feast of Christmas and Easter. Okay, the holidays were to be placed were to be the holidays were to be replaced by specially called days of fasting and days of Thanksgiving. in response to events that the Puritans, that the Puritans viewed as acts of special favor and special providence. Unexpected disasters or threats of judgment from on high for the days of fasting. Hold on, real quick. And the last thing, special blessings viewed as coming from God called for days of Thanksgiving, which were observed through Christian church services and other gatherings. For example, a day of Thanksgiving, days of Thanksgiving were called following the victory over the Spanish Armada. So everybody knows the Spanish Armada was a Catholic at that time. They were fighting the Protestant England. Under Queen Elizabeth the First, that who Virginia was named after. Anyway, in 1588, and upon the deliverance of Queen Anne in 1605. An unusual annual day of Thanksgiving began in 1606, following the failure of the gunpowder plot in 1605, and developed into Guy Fawkes Day on November the 5th. And everybody knows that was also a Catholic versus Protestant issue because Guy Fawkes was a Catholic, and they were trying to blow up the Houses of Parliament in England. So that was a Protestant Anglican fight. Days of Thanksgiving were called on account of plagues in 1604 and 1622, drought in 1611, and floods in 1613. Annual Thanksgiving prayers were dictated by the charter of English settlers upon their safe landing in America in 1619 at Berkeley Hundred in Virginia. So that's when so that's when the settlers first landed there. And also the funny thing about 1619, that's also the year that they say the first slaves came to America from Africa. Anyway, thank you. I just want to give a little brief history about the historical things that were talked about before.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You know, that's interesting when you say this. I wanted to mention something before you went on, that I was seeing this vision in my vision is this meeting that we have here, this gathering we're having, to really look at us as what I see, everything unfolding as where we're at, because everything that's happened to this point is all divine connection. But what we're doing right now is we're living a life that's showing as an example for history to be written about how a people was able to share in the story of our history and get on the same understanding of identity and our relationship to it, to where all the information that we're receiving now is bits and pieces of the truth that has been mangled in the history books that we read today, that are distorting it so that we don't know those pieces of truth that are alignment with the facts, in order to know that the sum of all things is the truth. And so for us to go in that path, we need the truth for the next generations to hear it. So as we're doing this, you're taping it and you're actually just doing this show, doing this thing together is bringing together something that I've seen as a beginning of a shared experience, memory of a pathway that we need to know together and share our part, so that where we're going, we can go into that in other shows long down the way. Long story short, you know.
Yeah,
No, we
absolutely.
definitely want to wait because exactly, because the more we make awareness for the issues, and the more we make awareness for how we supposed to live. That's what we want to do. So we could keep going as long as you have light to sharing us. I know that I know light never ends. So thank you. Yeah, we love having you here, and yeah, it's a mission because well, we had called our mission before, right? We had first called our mission. We want to cultivate manners and good things between people by having ethical humanitarian discourse. That was our terminology that we created for the type of discourse we want to put, and that's basically trying to say that no matter who we are, no matter what we are, where we come from, everybody has something to bring to the table. And as humans, we're all facing some human condition. And no matter what our outlook is on life, if we remember that we're all humans facing the same human condition, we have our way forward that we can meet on the common ground and all interact together. So yes, we totally we totally love everything you have to offer us, and love everything every tradition has to offer us, and that's our mission in bringing and having these special gatherings.
Mm.
Yeah. I think. How about young lady? What do you? How do you feel?
No, absolutely. I'm excited to have these conversations because I do think that the native voice is largely unheard, and I think it's actually a shame, especially in these days where people are forming all these ideologies, and then they want to talk about nationalism. Well, you know you can't you don't they don't have the rights to be nationalist on this land. Pretty much, like, and
It, it,
it's ironic, so I think, and that's where last time, it's like I wish I want you guys to be heard, and I think you're highly underrepresented in society, and I just don't know how to approach a lot of things, and I think a lot of people don't know how to approach a lot of things. Um, I know there's the issue with the mascots. There's the issue, like, I live in Connecticut, so everything in this state is either named after something from Great Britain or after natives. We've got the Narragansetts here with the Wampanoags here, but then we have things like the Wampanoag Country Club, which I'm like, ugh, like, is that, should we be doing that? Should we not be doing that? Um, so I think that these kind of things are important so that people can really get an understanding, of how to move on this land in a respectful way. That's what I
yeah,
would
thank
like.
you. Thank you.
Mhm.
That's exactly what the focus is for me in my life of why I was born, to do just that, to do that type of thing. So everybody has a purpose in life. And like my brother here tells me, my dad's friend, and now he's my friend. My dad's gone, but we still hang together. We just hang it when we're born, we know what we're doing in life. But I talk to lots of people now, and they don't even remember when they were in their mother's belly. They don't remember anything before that. Some of them don't have any memory till they were 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old. Me, I had memory from when I was in the belly. I had memory from where I was before I was in the belly, in the heavens. I remember the longevity of the different lives that I had before that, from being here 567 lives. You know,
I remember having to move over for my twin.
and need to move over a twin. So all these memories that we have in our life, it's an awareness of identity. And for me to know these things, I've always known my past, so I always return back to what I'm supposed to be doing. That's why I'm going to carry the ball to preparing what the path has already been prepared for me to travel.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I don't know if you guys know that totem pole that's been going across the country. It
Mm.
started
No,
up in
no,
Washington, I
no.
think, but it's going across the country so that it reaches Washington, and all these ceremonies that it goes to. The totem pole is supposed to bring back the energy of unity and the standings that being a Native American uh, uh, Secretary of Interior now. I guess Biden did good that they want to give him kudos for this, and they want to say that he's doing a good job in sending this totem pole across. But there's something bigger going on. By giving people the light to look at, you got to give them something to watch out for the blinders, that are around you. If you're
Mm.
living darkness all the time and you put the light out there, what are they going to see?
Mm.
So as we touch this totem pole, this vision of these family has of creating this totem pole for this reason is another step towards the process of the native people returning back to the land by waking up the people that are asleep for a reason. Uh, there's a lot of prophecies, but there's prophecies in Washoe country that prepared us for it. That's why I know I've been here 567 times, because this is my 567th time that I said I could do this. So as I'm here, I remember the times that what I was supposed to do on earth. And now that I'm here, I'm in the right place at the right time. First time in my life. But I had to get here early. And my God, everybody give me a hard time. Who do you think
Mm.
you are? Who do you think you are? You don't know what you're doing. Where did you get that? Give me that. That doesn't belong to you. You know? So now where we are today, I notice everybody's doing that. They want to learn these things. They want to gather this intelligence so they can become good people, good managers, but they're trying to steal it. Like the old paradigm is you go to the water cooler and tell me, hey, go ahead and talk about all these great ideas. Then you run off and steal it from somebody. Back in the
Mm.
native country here, before anybody was here, everything was private. You didn't say nothing that you weren't supposed to say to somebody else, especially if you weren't even told. If you were heard on the secondary, you definitely didn't say anything because you definitely weren't even supposed to be a part of the conversation. So there was
Mm.
an integrity that we carried with us every day in life. And that's where the mix up is that I had with Thanksgiving. But now that I don't have it now, I can actually go back into my focus on how to return the beings that are being human to return back to the circle, and they can return back to the heart, and the light begins to shine, and then they can take their own path again, which is what we were all given life for in that creation, procreation part, when we were between development and getting our spirit and becoming identity. So in science, what they call that now, when you're in a birth, a miracle or mad magic. What the heck? They don't use this word before, and all of a sudden they're using it because you can't use any other word besides that. The energy of life around us is providing us with those things, those tools to deal with our problems that we have, that we've created in the past, that we are now dealing with now. So
I mean,
those,
it's a day of mourning for some people. So, I mean, we can keep on that path, but I don't think it's going anywhere. Besides, we need to learn how to act.
well, I call that, Jose calls that, he said, people that want to hold on to the old paradigm and they don't want to let it go because it's too hard to go into the new one because they don't know what's going to happen. They're not assured that what they're going to have something better than what they got when they gave up something. So they
Mm.
don't want to give up what they gave up to give something that they're not for sure that they're going to get something back, which is going to provide them with life of eternal.
Right,
But
giving
you've
freely.
got to do this with unconditional love,
Okay.
Hmm.
knowing.
Hey, Chief Mountain Eagle. I want to get to your history a little bit. I want to get to your training. So, like, growing up a Native American, like, how was your education? Because how was your education in school, and how was your cultural education? How was your spiritual education? And tell me about the way you were brought up as a Native, and how you got to where you are in your culture and your traditions. How was it passed down to you? If you could give us some insight into the process, because you talk about keeping traditions and passing it down, but how was your education, your traditions passed down to you?
It's interesting when you say that because we talk about the people didn't know that the natives were still here. Well, in my tribe here, what happened here was Jesus Christ came here, or they call him a hairy faced man wearing this dress, but he spoke Washoe and he told us his prophecy about what happened to him, where he came from, what the people did to him, and what was going to happen to us, and what we're to be prepared for. So that's why we Washoe, just as many times before this, we prepared for it. So reincarnation is nothing to us. It's just another one of those times. So as we return back to Earth, we're supposed to do this responsibility and be a part of this job, right? So for me, I've been having trouble ever since I was born, um, because I was a premature baby, and they left me in the hospital for a month, I guess. But when I was there, I remember these things, and the connection that I have to my mom isn't the same connection that you would normally would have, because I don't have any connection to any one person, really. I love everybody, everything. I mean, I don't feel like just one person. I feel if you love me, I love you back. If you don't love me back, then there's something wrong and I need to fix it. So anyway, by being that way, I've always had this deep feeling of my purpose, I guess. And so my mom told me when they brought me home, and by the time I hit 7 years old, she said, "You didn't talk much." She said, "Hardly ever talk much." And then all of a sudden one day you started talking real lots, and at that point I had questions, right? So I started asking questions, and then they wouldn't give me no answers. Adults would always keep saying, you're a boy, you're a little kid, you shouldn't know that kind of stuff. You shouldn't be asking those questions. All these things, but they were taking me off the path because they didn't know. I didn't realize that at the time. But as they were doing that, it frustrated me. So my mom said the answer that she gave me, I asked her a question: how come there's no love in the world anymore? How come people don't like each other and we can't get along? She said, it's not that way anymore. We have to be something else. And from that day forward, I just shut down. I shut down. I don't listen to anybody. I don't listen to what they got to say. I know what I came here for, and I came to do that. So as I did, struggling to try to gather intelligence, most of the time, from first grade, I didn't go to school. I ditched school for the first 5 years of my school years, from first grade to fifth grade. But the first day, my mom, she should have figured this one out. The first day, she tried to talk me into going to school the next day. I didn't want to go. And she said, oh, you're going to have fun. You can do all this stuff with this kids, you're going to be around them. It's going to be fun. Shh. I went to school. I didn't like it. So when I came home, my mom says, how about school and stuff? And we sat down, she's at the table. She said, how was it? I said, it was all right, it's good. And she says, what'd you do? And I told her. And then after I was done, she said, you went silent for a minute. And then you said, do I have to go again tomorrow? And from that day forward, from first grade to fifth grade, they never knew I was ditching school. I never hardly went to school to where by the time I hit fifth grade, I could read and write. But my main education was, you know what happened when I ditched school? I used to walk down the road with all the other kids, and the parents could see me walking. But as soon as I get around the corner where you couldn't see me, we had a big hill here where the river was down the hill. I would separate from the kids and go to the hill and jump over the hill. And the kids would all just watch me, and then they'd get on the bus and go to school. Nobody ever did tell on me because that's how we are. I'd go back up over the hill, walk up to my place, and wait in back of the yard. I would tell my mom and dad I went to work. Then after they went to work, then I'd go up there and I'd leave the door unlocked for myself, and I'd go in and have something to eat, kick my shoes off, watch a little bit of cartoons or whatever. And then I'd go and see my friends. Who was my friend? The old people, the ones that people forgot, those that didn't want to hear them anymore. That wash away is no good anymore. You don't need to hear that. That's none of your business, So I used to go to see my friends, old people. When there was nobody there to visit, I would go up in the mountains and go out in the bushes and hang out there. One time an old man told me, he says, hey, come here. Where you go when you go out in the bushes? I said, oh, I just go walk around, look around and play and talk to the birds and, be in the bushes and stuff, do my thing. watch the bugs grow, watch the bugs build their houses, watch the ants. And he says, well, he said, why don't you carry yourself a stick with a sharp point on it? He said, you're kind of small. Mountain lion and coyotes will drag you off. So
Mm.
different advice like that really helped me because that's all I had to be aware of, just as something to try to get me, you know. So I carried a stick. You know, over the year, those few years, from 7 years old on up, by the time I hit 19, 20, I made me a stick, a walking stick. And
Mm.
this walking stick here, it turned into a back scratcher is what it is, because my back always itched and I couldn't get it. But
Watch out, you can poke an eye out with that thing.
but oh, I'm really good with
Multi-purpose.
it.
We like that.
So anyway, when I made this stick, now whenever I walk like this with it. So nothing sees me. So dogs come after me, then they coming after me. Fuck, I just dropped that thing and bam.
Mm.
And I was carrying it like this one day, and this anthropologist says, "Oh, you got an atlatl." I said,
Rattle,
"What?" She said, "An atlatl." And I looked at it and I go, "Yeah, that's right." So I drilled a hole there, put an arrow in it. Now I have an atlatl. This is the oldest weapon of the first people on Earth.
Oh, wow.
It's called an atlatl. Atlatl. I never heard of that
Atlatl?
weapon. I'm gonna
Me
look it up.
neither.
Atlatl.
Oh, wow.
An atlatl. An arrow goes in there like this. I got an arrow here somewhere. You know how old this is? I made this when I was 19 years old, 20 years old.
Wow.
Got the story on it and everything on the stick, you know, deer horns on there, willow and whatnot. But it, that was my education growing up. Is always being out of the woods, doing this. Whenever my questions came about living and life, it was always about the relationship of nature and the beings being human on Earth. It
Hmm.
wasn't just about Washoe. It's about beings being Earth. Because I know I'm not just an Earthling. I know I'm a being inside this Earth body. So as we travel, we need this in order to function
Mm-hmm.
at certain points. So by the time I hit 5th grade, I quit school. By the time I did that, because I read this book and it said, history book, and there's some history on this history teacher, because the history teacher was my dad's teacher too, and they had some problems. But the teacher, she wanted me to read this phrase out of the history book, and I was looking at this book. Before I read it, I looked at that picture, and I couldn't finish the sentence because that picture bothered me. There was an Indian with a spear on a horse chasing a buffalo. And
Mm.
underneath it said, the North American Indians were conquered. I said, wait, hold on. North American Indians? I didn't read it. And the teacher said, keep reading. So I just went on, past it. But the part was, it stuck in my head. What do you mean conquered? Am I part of that? So after school, I went home and I was going to go ask my dad. He wasn't around. So I asked my uncle, my dad's brother. And I said, I read in a history book today that the North American Indians were conquered. Was we conquered? And my uncle says, well, some of the bigger tribes were because they fought back. He says, but tribes like us, he said, some of us didn't get a chance to fight. I said, all right, I didn't miss the battle. So I've been writing this book when I was never conquered. So
Hmm.
now I have standings in which my whole life has been based on the information that I was given, oral history, as well as my own historical evidence of my own life being a part of a history trying to be wiped out off the earth. Here I am, the mechanism in order for that history or that oral connection to our identity is not severed. We have returned back to earth, and we have the information that we've always had from the beginning of time. Nobody didn't take it. Nobody didn't distort it, because I know what it is. And for inside me and everything I've ever been done, when I got to be about 7 years old, 8 years old, the adults tried to keep information from me.
Really?
You know, and the adults, I sat with the elders And the elders said all this stuff, but nobody didn't realize that they were talking information. So when the adults ate dinner, the elders stayed at the table and they kept talking. So for me, after dinner was very important because if you can get everybody out of the kitchen and then go back into do the meeting with each other, not just right after dinner, I could do it. So if I knew there was a gathering of the elders that are going to be sitting there eating and having a gathering, they used to tell us, "Go play. You're too young. You shouldn't be listening to this. You don't need to know this. You kid, you don't make too much noise." I did. I'll be quiet. I'll do it. So I'll do it if I have to. So you know what I did? We had a big long table my grandpa made, and everybody would sit on it. North side, south side, north side, south side, and the west side. But the wall was on the east side, so I could get under the table, way in the back, and squish up against the wall like that, so that when the people are sitting there, their legs be right there close, almost touch me, but can't touch me because they don't want to bump into the wall. So as I sat there, I would hear this information, and I would hear why they wouldn't tell younger people stuff, because the younger people would do this, or the younger people won't do that. I learned all that what they under the table. So when the times that I was outside the table and I wanted to sit around, I would use that information I figured out about doing things for them, not saying nothing, not being loud. Pretty soon, the elders started to bring me into the meeting, bring me around. Because
Nice.
how did I learn that stuff? My dad must have did it. That's what they always give my
Mm.
dad credit. But I learned that young. If you're going to learn something, you got to figure out how to find out where the information's at. And so for me, they were holding out on it because our people were wiped out in 1859 because this place wanted to become a state. So they had to wipe out the people. So when we, had that war, where we stand now, all of the people have forgotten who they are. But all the information that they had, they couldn't pass down because if they did, they would put their kids in harm's way. So lots of families didn't pass their information down just to protect their kids. My great aunt that I learned this stuff from, she was a historian of the whole nation of Washoe. I didn't know it at the
Mm.
time, but asking all the questions, it brought me to the source. And finally, she came back and told me, "Nobody's going to tell you this because of this happened. This is too hard a time. Nobody will tell you." But she told me. So,
Oh,
there's a
wow.
reason why the Native people don't talk. That's the reason you don't see us, is because we were killed every time. We were taken out of the picture, or our families were beat, or something would happen to us because they used the same tactics they used in war times of other nations. And they did this in order to silence us. And then as they gradually came here and encroached upon us, pretty soon our identity has changed because they say who we are now. We don't say who we are because we're called Indian, which is not even a real, it's an artificial person. So for me,
Oh,
in the standings, as I grew up in 1972, how old was I in 72? I was born in 62, 10 years old. I was 10 years old. One of the elders gave me $1 bill one time, and
Mm.
on it was written New World Order.
Yep.
And I thought, what is that? So I asked one of the old people, what is this? They said, oh, just people writing on the money. That's, they say that's coming, whatever. So, but inside, I thought I was going to have something to do with this, something about this. And this was a message for me in 72. Over the years, all the things I was doing, I was believing and dreaming I was going to become a monkey wrench to the New World Order. And
Hmm.
I'm the monkey wrench to the New World Order.
There it is. There it is.
And it's so funny that all these things in my life I've always known. And so they've always tried to take it away and make me go to school and tell me all these things. And it was just conditioning me to thinking about, to tell me that I don't know who I am. And that
Mm.
was the path to eliminate the First Nations of this continent, is to get them to forget who they are.
Okay, hey, Mr. Mawanigum, let me ask you more about the First Nation thing. So I see you using the word First Nations. I know in Canada use it. In America, we tend more. I'm not saying the Native people, but the outside world tends more to call natives by Native American or American Indian or what that. So why have you chose first? Is First Nation is that your preferred choice? Why have you chosen? I want you to get into Native American identity because I know Native Americans have each and individual tribes and the old pre-American identities. I know that, right?
Mm.
But how do we in this lifetime in this generation refer to natives as a whole? If we don't necessarily know the Pacific tribe, how do we have a unified a unified label or unified something so we understand we understand the entirety of what the First Nations or American Indians or Native Americans or whatever you want to call it have to offer us. So why have you chosen First Nations if you have, or what is the best appellation, or what's the best name calling for the native cause right now, so we could all get on the program and positively identify the root people that originally came and cultivated this land.
Well, the reason I use it because I look at it like this: North, Central, and South America as one continent, and Canada being part of North America. So I don't see Canada being separate. These lines that they got on the continents have really made the human mind separate itself from many different aspects of its own identity. So
Mm.
sometimes your history don't want to overextend because the law says you don't belong over there, but yet your family says, well, my mom's from that side or my dad's from that side. So when you think about identity, I think to myself, well, why do the Canada people call themselves First Nations? Well, they're honoring each other's uh, um, governing system, which was intact before anybody came to this continent. People think we all nomads, that we didn't have any kind of a governing system, but our governing system was well, well, well above like the Aztecs and Mayans. But what's happening is uh, the identity of First Nations is you look at the United States and how they've divided the land up, and now you have a state here and a state there. Now within the state of Nevada, there's three tribes: Washoe, Paiute, and Shoshone. So there's three states within one state. So they got another tribes over and back in. They say the Choctaw area. There's like maybe 10 different tribes in one state. So you have 10 states in one state of United States Union. In the
Mm.
Native Union, we have 10 states plus three states in Nevada, plus however other in those other state of the unions are tribal nations. Every one of them is recognized as their own township or their own a body of um, managers.
Like jurisdiction.
Yeah, they take care of their own precincts.
Okay.
So as that elder tribunal in those areas, which we're leading to, is bringing back the elder seniorship back into the role model of being good guides as protectors or as perfected and trusted individuals, and using their years of integrity, working on their integrity of standings, that we look to them as being the guides of where we should be going, not telling us what to do, but just giving us that guidance and then support. So maintaining a standings in our community, we don't have to change. So for me, as I call myself uh, uh, Washishu, part of the First Nations, it allows me to give those other tribes, those other nations, and those other families the respect that they need to have, because some of them don't exist anymore in those areas. Some of them have been wiped out completely through the process of God said we can do this. You
Mm.
know. So again, we're dealing with not an ideal of truth, but an ideal that before people came to this continent, we were known in history books in Europe as noble savages. After Columbus came here, we're now known as savages with no noble, because you can't write about a noble savage and steal his land and rape his wife and kids and do the things they did to take the land back, to say
Mm.
which they have conquest. So for me, every one of those individual families that live in those areas need to be recognized for their place. That's why I call myself a First Nations. You know, in the back east, there's a nation of foreign people, which I don't know why these people keep wanting to talk about immigration, when the first Native Americans in this continent are white people, are non-native. And they stand on being Native Americans because they're the first white people that came to this continent.
That's why that term doesn't work.
That's why that term doesn't work. That's for sure. But
Yeah.
America wasn't called America until people brought that name. That name is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
Jewish name, or that Arabic.
Italian.
No,
Uh,
it's Amerigo
Italian.
Vespucci.
Yeah,
Amerigo
Alla
Vespucci.
Maraca. Alla
No, he's
Maraca.
Italian. Yeah, Americo.
Italian.
Yeah, Morocco. Yeah,
Amerigo
Americo
Vespucci.
Vespucci.
Yeah, it was
Vespucci.
named
Yeah.
after Amerigo
So
Vespucci.
for where we stand right now, as we begin this process of return, this interview with you guys is very fruitful and fruitful for us, because nobody has ever wanted to stay in the lines of this type of conversation without jumping in, distorting it with the stupidest questions or the most outlandish direction of questioning that has nothing to do with human identity,
Mm.
which you guys right now are displaying integrity in that. So the honor in this path goes to you for making this available, so that this information can actually finally start trying to come out of, uh, uh, um, you know, um, in the way that it needs to, without being rushed.
Yes,
Because if
yeah.
we could do this step at a time, we can actually write the beginning of the new paradigm history book.
Mm.
And that makes a lot of sense because it's basically saying that First Nations are the nobility of America, and that's right. From noble savage, they took away the noble and left the savage. But I think we should take away the savage and leave the noble.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So the First Nation.
I think
So
we
yes,
better. I think we should all quit calling each other names. I think we ought to just
Mm.
call each other what the spirit called us, and we have to find that out before we start talking. And a lot of times, people always
mm,
ask me all the time, "What's that song mean?" I said, "Well, the translation is better if you feel what the song means." The song I would sing, I would teach people to say, "No way ahead, no way ahead, no way ahead, no way ahead." And when I teach people that, I tell them, "No way ahead. You know something." I don't teach, "I don't know way ahead, I don't know way ahead." I don't teach that. Person has to know their own identity inside themselves in order to function. And once you do that, you find out the system we're living in, we're trying to function in a dysfunction. And we're trying to make sense of it all, while the perpetrators are actually doing that, inducing chaos so they can keep plundering, which is called, this period of time, the last legal plunder of this country before anybody realizes it's gone, or before they realize they still have a standings in order to stand up to it. They tell me I'm the only one left with a diplomatic sovereignty, but we all have diplomatic sovereignty. I just have it legally, because I have created those standings in which we need to say to these people that are on us, "Hey, do you know I'm not above you and I'm not up below you. We're partners in this country." And I'm not saying to leave. I said partners. I could say leave, but I don't, because I don't have that right. Creator brought us all together for a reason. Why aren't we utilizing that resource?
It's like those guys up in Kirkwood wishes that I could just take a helicopter load of a house and bring it and just put it down. Here you go.
That's right.
But it just don't work that way.
No, no. Everything takes time. Everything takes planning. I mean, even the planning where people build in houses, they don't realize you can't build in the riparian area. You're building your house right in the refrigerator. Oh my God! Now bears can't drink. Nobody can eat because they can't get to where everything wants to drink.
But they get a nice view.
But they got a nice view, and they claim all the water. So this whole idea behind identity on this continent is that Thanksgiving is just a one of many examples of how we recognize the important things in our life. Once a year, Mother's Day. Once a year, Indigenous Day. Once a year, Martin Luther King's birthday. I mean, he's dead. Why are we still celebrating his birthday? Should have celebrated his birthday when he was alive. That would have been a lot more fun. So
Yeah.
for us to stand together is to protect those that are unprotected. Me, I've been used to, in the old days, a good medicine man would be healthy and vigorous. Me, I've given up all my power. I used to be 270. Shit, I barely make 100 now. But it's because the earth, the darkness is devouring our medicine people because the love in the family doesn't exist anymore. Everybody wants to say they're family. Everybody wants to say they're doing it on behalf of the family, but they're lying, just like everybody's telling you environmentally. It's mitigation, restoration that is causing us a problem because mitigation is making them feel good about the damage they've done. That was a legal terminology that we had gotten from the legal attorney of the United States when we dealt with that. And so for us to try to be good managers in a design system that we under is impossible. So for us to be true identity people, we need to do this interview like this, just to get the information so that people could get the understanding of why us Native people have been out of the mix this whole time, because we have no protection. To this day, we're lucky everybody's got a little bit of Indian blood because nobody knows who's Indian anymore. But I do. Anybody that is Indian don't know who they are. Anybody that knows their identity of their culture are natives just like me, because I'm not Indian. I'm native of this land, just like he's native of the land from the continent his bloodline come from. But he's here now, and his bloodline's the same as mine. So the royal bloodlines of the families of the world are coming here together. But why aren't we together? Why is it taking us so long? Wasn't our bloodlines in these royal families of survival and caring for the land and caring for each other intact, strong enough to hold the longevity of intrusions? I believe it is, because here we are, and here you guys are. I mean, we all have a story to tell that is very important to help somebody else that's coming up along the way, as long as we are honest and truthful about the experience we're having, and not try to make people feel good. Because a lot of times, sometimes when people say something, it don't make you feel good, but it's because you're lied to, and you want me to feel bad for you, so I don't tell you the truth. Ain't that a bitch? So for me to be able to stand up for myself is I need to be able to say what I need to say without feeling like I'm going to offend somebody or I'm going to say something out of context.
No, you're saying everything fine. Okay. So we talked about the Native Americans and in your teaching. So but did you ever go through any type of, okay? So you came there, you was a kid who's learned with the elders, but did you ever go through like what was the specific entitlements that they gave you to hold the traditions? Can you tell us about the kind of specific entitlements they gave you, or or rites of passage you went through? Can you tell us about like rites of passage, initiations, hard customs and things that were given to you, that show us a glimpse into the inner workings of Native American life and thought and practice and how it can apply to us today?
Mm, that's pretty deep there.
Mm.
That's a lot to that. But like for my father, when I was raised, my father used to always take me out and teach me metaphysical stuff. Teach me things out in space, man. Talk to me, and all of a sudden I'm out in space like a metaphysical being in my psychic. So I would leave my body in a sense. So that whole teaching would come time to my father. By the time I was 8 years old, I could hunt and I could fish and I could gather. So I just figured I just needed a wife now. But 8 years old, you don't have a wife to get going yet. So for me, to be a washishu was to be able to provide and to protect. So now I just had to learn to be the warrior and fight tyranny. So as I uh, growing up, I did do my manhood ceremony where I went from a boy to a man, where they didn't treat me like a boy no more. What we do is, see these horns back here behind me?
Mhm.
They're deer horns. And we got mule deer over here. And our people on old days, when we die, so we get the choice of what we want to be in the next life, as we go. So
Mm.
myself, a lot of times the old people used to say, you always got to give thanks for the things you get, because sometimes they'll come to you when you don't have nothing, because that's why they were born. Our people sometimes die to be the one to be eaten at the time when that families need something to eat. And so if a person was going to be come back as a deer, or come back as a elk, or come back as a uh, 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 sage hen, they come back because they want those things to continue to be alive, so that the families that they remember have something to eat. So as our lives do that, we recognize those things. So for us to be that way, when we get our first deer, it's a show of manhood. So when we go out and get it, we got to clean it, and then dress it, and we take the balls out and hang them on the bush, so that it's a good luck thing. But then you turn the horns upside down and you crawl underneath them. And as you crawl underneath those horns, it's kind of like a luck thing, but it's also like a demonstration of how good a provider you're going to be. Uh, it's not the size of the horn; it's just that you got a buck that's nice enough to feed the family.
Mm.
Okay,
So
so the manhood thing. So in Native American culture, I heard you say about providing and manhood, and that was part of the ceremony. So what are nowadays in the outside world, right? In the general world in America, gender relationships is a big thing nowadays, right? So explain what you just said about being a man and the man ceremonies in your tradition, and how did your culture see the how did your culture see gender and manhood and femininity, and both of them being contrasted. How did your culture see all that?
I don't know. I think that's the part that kind of gets out of context, because in a dysfunctional system, people will try to take it into another context of what it means or how we look at it. But in customs and traditions, we follow this certain path because uh, of taboo, and we taboo is the same as karma. We don't do it. We don't do a karma. So as we pass through life, we're real honest with ourselves of where we're at and what we do, and we don't lose our identity. So when it comes to different aspects of cultural or not, of human identity, we don't have so much distortion with, but we are getting it with a lot of the natives that are living in the cities and stuff now. They're further away from their culture, to where they don't realize that the alignment between heaven and earth is from where you practice. And if you lose that connection, then you're going to become anything. but it's not a bad thing. It's just you're not connected the same way. And so the relationship of understanding and being spoken to by spirit through the telepathic uh, means of communication that we used to have, that we still have with animals and all that, but we don't have it with each other. But we still have the likeness of it because sometimes we know what each other's thinking. That we used to do that. That we knew what we were supposed to be doing. You know. So
Okay, okay. I kind of get it because right now a lot of people in the outside world they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. I think we had strong traditions that let us have rites of passage, rights into manhood. You wouldn't have a lot of the distortion. This is my opinion. This is my personal opinion. They wouldn't have a lot of distortions that you see today. Like we have distortions you see today of people saying they were born one way, but then telling you they're another way, or telling you they're this way. But if we were connected to nature, how you were, we wouldn't have these distortions, right?
exactly, and there's nothing wrong with being anything else, but you got to remember those ones that were connected to the connection of the everlasting being and energy and responsibility on earth. Those are the ones that continue to maintain the cultural practices of generations. Anybody gets off track and starts to try to change that, that's where um, the taboo or the karma comes in, because you start doing something that you think is okay, but yet it causes you problems later down the road. And so cultural and tradition has to do with tried and tested practices.
Yep.
So as we were here for generations, that's what we had going for us, is because we had the longevity of practice. We're beginning just like American people in a sense, because we don't even realize that we're givers. We're over here trying to be takers now. What's mine? Give me this, give me that. The younger generation here, they have no idea to think about another person. They just think about themselves, because when they came here and wiped our people out, they wiped out all the men, left the women and children and old people. And when we finally came out of the mountains, they taught us how to live. And that was put a handout like this as a handout, right? And they give you allocations like they did with the Lakotas, the allotment. They give you rations and stuff, whether it be poison or whatever. They give it to you, it's free. You get your handout. After you get your handout for so long, the next generation is born, and the next generation is born. You got 3 generations. You know how to get ahead in Washoe country now, in Washoe tribe now. Uh, um, because of the entitlement,
Yeah.
2 hands.
Oh, that's
Nobody
sad.
knows how to work anymore. They
Okay.
want their handout first, and they'll jump in front of the old people. They'll jump in front of the sick, and they'll jump in front of those because they don't even notice they're there.
Yeah, because and it's crazy how you said they first came after the men, and and that is also a lot of things that create dependency, because that's one thing that many, of course it's controversial, many amongst the black community says. They said the same thing happened to the black community. First they took the men out the house, and once they did that, they weren't able to provide the same way. So it's similar dynamics. It sounds like could have been the process for making the natives also dependent on the state, the way the black community has become dependent on state with single mom welfare and this, that, and the third. So the Native Americans, the same thing happened. If you take out the man, it makes the entire tribe dependent on someone else instead of the men who were there, they were dependent on before. So I see that happening in a lot of communities, and that's something that we all have to address. And and we have to focus on manhood to get that back. But I want to get to what you said earlier again about the about traditions and about traditions and things being there for best practice over generations. Like I like that you said that some things they do because you won't be able to take it back. So like a lot of things people are doing now when they're doing radical procedures to themselves, right? They don't
Yep.
think that it can't be reversed. If you do a radical procedure to yourself, what if you change your mind later? Now you mess yourself up for life because you don't want to go with the time tested way that you were supposed to be naturally. You're changing yourself, and now when your body can't take the changes, you could do the reverse it because the damage is permanent. So we need to do things that we know are not going to damage us permanently and things that are reversible. And if we think about the long term damages, we wouldn't damage ourselves in the first place. So that was real great advice you gave, and it applies to many different cultures, many different aspects in life. I can see the advice you given applying to all people about
Well,
that. So
I even help people at this way. Um, I'm helping with this class out of Reno, and a spiritual lady that's doing it. She's a good medicine woman. She's not native, but she's a good medicine woman too. But they're teaching these practices and stuff, and she got me to do these curriculum where some of the things that I do, I can help people, and where people that don't have a culture or they forgot their culture, they don't know where to begin. I could teach you a song, and I could teach you a round dance to where you hold hands and dance together as family. Now, friend, but when you do this, you create a healing orb round, touch everything, but it also goes up and down, heaven and earth. So as you communicate with that, the tobacco ceremony that I teach you, I show you how to get tobacco or an offering, and you give it to the spirit, offer it to the spirit, give thanks to it, introduce yourself to spirit. After that, by the tobacco ceremony and the round dance, you return to the circle and you return to your heart. And so as you do that, now it's your connection to the relationship you have with spirit. It's all good. I don't know what any other way you can say it. To
Mm.
yeah,
And that's interesting because the circular kind of motion around things is throughout different cultures and around the world. So, in India, when they would circle things like a fire or something and kind of create the energy to whatever ritual they were doing. And also, we see things even like um, in Mecca where they go around. It's a circular kind of motion that people are making in this form of like um, worship or energy or for different reasons. So that's interesting that that's a
well,
part.
they used to have the circles all over the world. In Europe, I was at Celtic country. They used to have circles for sweat lodges and stuff, round circles. The
Mm.
churches came and built squares, churches on top of the circles, so you wouldn't know it's a
Oh
circle.
wow, really? Oh wow. Oh, you okay? Oh, that's interesting.
Jen.
Mm.
Yes.
Did you see that message, Jen? No, no, I was talking to Jen, Mr. Jeff. You see that message I sent you in the back?
What's that?
No,
No, no,
what's
no,
going
no,
on?
no. No, no, no. I was talking to my co-host. I was talking to my co-host. So don't worry about that, Mr. Jeff. I was talking to my
Okay.
co-host real
Yeah,
quick.
he's just coughing over here. I'll be right back.
Yeah, he'll be right back. Yeah.
I do that sometimes. Not so bad anymore. Used to do it at a
Mm.
restaurant. My woman would tell everybody, "Don't worry, he's still breathing."
Okay.
We think
Hey.
he is.
Okay. Hey. Miss, Mr. Mountain Wolf. I mean, that's Mr. Mountain Eagle. I'm sorry, Mr. Mountain Eagle. 'Cause I was thinking about Wolf because my friend Wolf is in my mind. But Mr. Mountain Eagle. I want to know more about the tobacco ceremonies and the sweat lodge because in preparing for this, I talked to this lady and she was telling me about sweat lodge. I never knew about sweat lodge before. Like I knew about the tobacco ceremonies and the peace pipes, but tell me about the tobacco ceremony. Tell me about sweat lodges and if you have any experience with peyote. I've heard about this peyote, and so tell me about what goes on in this sweat. I mean, if you can, whatever you can, tell me about the whole sweat lodge culture and the whole peace pipes and all that. I want to get into it because it was real interesting when I was hearing about it, and I never really knew about it before. I would like to know your take. these things only because it comes up and people ask about it. So now since we have you here, we might as well ask you what's behind the sweat lodges and the peyote and the tobacco and all this. So can you tell us about the ritualistic use of herbs and sweat lodges to have any in your culture? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we could tell you a little bit.
It's a good closet to pray in.
The sweat lodge, reason I brought up the sweat lodge was because of the circles. But when we do the sweat lodge, it's going into the lodge where there's hot stones and you put water on them and they steam, make a steam bath. But back in the old days, we went in there naked because you went in there as your baby when you were born. It's like going into the womb of the mother. And that way, when you go in there, you tell your mom, "Oh, this all this stuff happened." You get you heal, go back into the womb of the mother, and you let go of the sickness and the poison and all that. Let it heal you. Sing your songs, stay connected. Like the tobacco ceremony, same thing. When you connect up, you're talking to the spirit, but you're also giving something and not just taking. By giving your intention, by giving tobacco, you've done something greater than you could if you put $1,000 on a tree stump that has been cut down or deforested or whatever. You know, the prayer would do something more than that $1,000 sitting on that stump. Somebody would just come by and pick it up and go spend it.
You know, grandfather rocks have something to say to you when you go in, so you
Yeah,
better be listening up.
and the stones, everything has significance of what they're there, and they're supposed to help you and heal you. So the relationship of the tobacco ceremony is to get you back on the road of communication with spirit. Once you've got communication with spirit, then you in this case I always tell people you'll end up getting your earth name. You know how some people are, you know, always want to be called running wolf or crazy bear or stuff. Nobody ever wants to be tick or
Worm or
worm or things like that. But those entities are just as powerful as the bear and eagle.
Mm.
So whatever job you have on earth, whatever job you have in your identity, I call that purpose and character. Whatever your purpose is in life, you know what that is. You could describe it. Whatever kind of character is, you might have to ask somebody else what kind of character you are so that you can really describe it, because sometimes we don't describe ourselves as the character we really are. But purpose and character, if you can describe that in a name, call yourself that as your earth name to start with. And as
Mm.
you give yourself
That's
that name, as you live that name, now are you living the name that you're given, or you just give yourself a name because it sounds good and everybody wants to praise you because you're, great mountain that shines above us all.
And that's great you said it, because what you says it could apply in so many different contexts. Right when you said that, I was thinking about different cultures, different religions. That same phenomenon happens all the time everywhere. Like people want to identify something, but do they really live by what they identify? So yeah. So you should always be consistent with your identity, and I think being consistent with your identity and your actions and what you do is all part of sanity. In the end of the day, it's about keeping ourselves sane. If we want to identify with something that we're not, we're always going to be lying to ourselves, and we're going to make ourselves into artificial insanity. And I think that's what's happening to a lot of the world now, is that we create our own insanity when we don't need to. We making things that are making us crazy, we don't need to be crazy, and it plays out in so many different ways. And that's the one things that I'm trying to fix. That's one thing Jen trying to fix, or do what we can to promote a conversation that heals and fixes the insanity that we've seen in a lot of people. Because we run across insane, especially on the internet, we run across insane people a lot. Unfortunately, you all the insane people are over here, but at the same time, it's a good thing, because at least we know, and we could deal with it and face it. Because no matter how I look at it, we all one human race, and no matter what, we all uh, an insane person affects all of us. If one person's unhealthy in their mind, body and spirit, it affects all of us. You know what I'm saying? So no matter how healthy I am, if someone else is unhealthy, it still affects me. So it's about health is not internal, it's external itself. But what I mean external is about projecting healthy ways of being, healthy ways of speech, healthy ways of acting, so we all can have a healthy lifestyle in society all together. So your advice, your the advice you're giving, is very universal and plays into many different contexts.
Well, that's why what I'm doing now is I was born 59 years ago because I was going to be needed right now. Now that I'm here, I recognize where I'm at. And it's really hard to talk to people because they always want to know where I got my information and do you know that's true or or how do you know this? You know, I didn't come here with questions. I came here with answers. And I'm getting tired of defending myself and I'm getting tired of people wondering
Where's your credentials?
where's my credentials? Matter of fact, that's a good topic to be on that. When it comes to high status knowledge in this country, you can't get a native person to speak on behalf of environmental issues or anything that like that unless they have an institutional degree. You know, a native person was teaching up in Oregon, Washington, at the school. She was in her 90s, and she was teaching a culture. Her culture, and and the school was really liking it, and the students were getting more information. To where the administrators had a meeting, and they said, told her she can't be teaching that in the school because she doesn't have a degree. She said, well, how am I going to teach my stuff then? They said, you're going to teach our professors and they're going to teach it.
Oh, come on.
Okay, so come on now. What did they
Wow, wow,
say
that's
to
crazy.
her?
Wow,
So
I
for
know.
us native people, we have to create the system in order to give our own degree. But our degree system is based on uh, I would say an elder tribunal of township of modern community township with mixed cultures would be good to have for the elder tribunal. But in our culture tribunal, we have to have those that are practicing cultural people in order for them to understand our relationship and why it is we do certain things. Because under the modern man's law, they don't consider natural law. And
Yeah,
so for, for us to be living under a context of spirit, we have to always recognize natural law.
yep. And
And
I hear you so much. And what I want to tell you for the future, Maonigo and Mr. Jeff, is like I hear you, right? And that's one of the things that we try to do, because I believe in something called intellectual populism, meaning that I believe all people should take part in learning, whether in the classroom or out. Because you can't tell me that education begins and ends inside an institution, inside a classroom, inside an academy. Everybody could take upon themselves to learn. Like, for example, we're making an educational program right now. I don't have any credentials to make this educational program. I don't know what credentials Jen have, and I'm not asking no boy no bus credentials, because I think individuals should take education in their own hands and learn. And that's why I like the example you're giving of you, someone who took education in your own hands and learned despite any institutionalization. Because I think all of us need to do that. All of us need to remember that, because now if you limit your education to institutions, they have control all your information. So they control how you think now. Now we have a small amount of people controlling how everybody thinks, because everybody's limiting their education to the small amount of people who call themselves academics, academia, whatever you call them, and they're limiting their education. Everybody should take part, and people themselves have to stop being lazy themselves. People have to stop being lazy and they have to get up and learn. And that's why we're doing this, to get people exposed. So everything we talk about, everybody, you can go back and research everything we talk about and learn for yourself. So I really appreciate that advice. It goes to a lot of things. Hey Jen, you have something to
well,
say?
when you talk about tobacco ceremony, you're talking about returning to the beginning of how we communicated with the natural world. So before we knew natural law, the natural world had to tell us what their laws were. So we had to learn it from everybody. But you know, if we wanted to be a medicine person of plants, you know, we have to listen to the plant in order to know what the plant is. We didn't learn it from
Mm.
each other. We did that afterwards because somebody did that before us. But when we first got here on Earth, we had to go out on the land and sit with that plant up to 4 days until the plant tell you where it's from, why it's there, how to gather it, and what to do, and the whole process. So this
Mm.
encyclopedia that people think that the native people have, it's still right there. It's just not right. It's not physical. It's a
Mm.
metaphysical understanding to where I could teach you how to do this, but you got to people got to learn to be quiet and not want this information just to have more under their belt. You got to be able to live your life as whatever you are integrally to become the best that you can. You know, back in the old days, if a man tried to hold office in this community and he did something wrong, that the women council would say to the warrior people, take that man out of office, he'll never hold office again. And you know, he'd lose in integrity. So and he wouldn't ever be in the standings in the community like that again. So any man in any community wouldn't spend his whole life doing something and then fuck it up just because he uh you know doing something he shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah. So
So
there was shame and there was honor. There was honor and people were ashamed to do stuff. It was an honor code that kept everybody in alignment, right?
exactly, and that's where we as a self uh, uh, adjusting entity, we can align ourselves with the right path so that we don't do those things that we're not supposed to do. But we're all lining in the dysfunctional path that we think we're going to correct it later on when we're just perpetuating what we don't like. And we're supporting it on top of that.
Mm.
So
Okay,
how are we going to get out of a mess that we're used to making our bed?
that's good. That's good. I mean, and we'll get back to that. But I want to ask you something about you said about the natives, the First Nations, when they first understood the use of the plants, how they had to sit and talk to the plants, right? So I want you to talk about the First Native contributions in terms of plants and everything they have, everything you know about their contribution to the world we have today. Because you asked me to watch Ray Fadden and his things about about Native Americans and what they brought. So, but from your words, not for me particularly, because I see where you're going and you talk and you show me what to watch. But for our audience, tell everybody. Tell everybody what you know about the native contributions to our modern day society that a lot of people don't even think about, from our foods to our medicines, everything you know about that. Can teach us about the native contributions for the sake of our audience to know exactly or have a better glimpse, because a lot of people, we have an audience from England, other countries that might not know as much about what natives brought to our current culture and what we use every day. And I want you to give us a little bit of education about that.
Well, that's funny you say that because I think the only thing I can really think about the most of what we contributed now, right now, and some of them are, I mean, there's some tribes that still are practicing their cultures pretty strongly, so they're doing really good. And so, but they're small, isolated areas. But I think what the native people contribute, not from the past, but what we contribute now is that ability to love all life and all those things on earth with no separation between any of it. Deer belong with the deer, birds belong with the birds, humans belong with the humans. There's no separation between them, there's no division. So as we live here together, we're brothers and sisters. So I like the contribution that the native people are going to bring back, and that the family, the understanding of what that means to human life on earth is having a group of people carrying on traditions, culture that's in relationship to earth, heaven, spirit, all of the existence that we want to have here on earth, because we're all coming from different cosmic designs. That being on earth is another one of those experiences, that where the native people stood before anybody came to this continent as strong, uh, have courage, would have love and understanding, and laugh, and look after each other, and uh, tell us each other the secrets that we all receive. You know, that's why Native people like to communicate, because we like to tell each other stuff. There's lots of stories to tell. So if
Okay.
we could just return back our own identity like that, because there's cultures all over the world that contributed to everything, and we
Yeah.
don't. We got to quit gauging which one did more, or what did this, what did that. All we got to do is know that we all have the ability to contribute. The corporate structure right now is really taking advantage of the ideas of the younger generation, because they take their ideas from the colleges. They say, "Oh, do these papers and do this idea." Somebody's looking at that stuff, and they're finding secrets out that these students are actually putting down on paper, that are great ideas, that are great plans, and all that, and they don't have to pay for it, except they get paid for people going to school. So for us to get the same information for ourselves is in that same process. So as our ability to feel free and to feel like that we can share without being under threat or somebody stealing our stuff, then we'll be able to share this information, and we can become a stronger people and a stronger nation. But right now, within our communities, we can't trust. There's no trust, and nobody's willing to start to trust. So, uh, what was the question? What was the question again?
Contributions that
Oh, yeah, contributions. Yeah,
contributions.
contributions. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So just the idea behind what we contribute. If we could get into the beginning of this with the family, and learn to love one another, because lots of people I talk to, some of them don't even know family because they've never had it. And then some people cut their family off, and they don't want nothing to do with them. And
Mm.
my God, man, uh, how do you have a gathering together when you have nobody to even show up?
Yeah. Hey,
You know,
Mr. Mahoney, I can say Mr. Mahonigo and Mr. Mahonigo.
I
We have a
love you.
question from the we have a question from the audience. We have a question from the audience. Keep asking this, so I want to ask you just for the sake of our audience. Our audience is asking, what do you know about skinwalkers? That's the audience. This is an audience question. They want you to talk about skinwalkers if you have any information about that. The audience wants to know.
not really. I think there was a Navajo people that did that kind of stuff. But I kind of think if people could do medicine on you, it's because you're weak and you're allowing it to happen to you. Otherwise, if you're light, strong, and you're bright, you wouldn't be in that circumstance. And if people were able
Mm.
to play on your superstitions, well, that's the first doorway to telling you don't have your own convictions.
I feel that. I
So
feel that. I feel
Mm.
that a
so
lot
so, so,
because
so for us, and
If
then there are physical things that people can do to each other with medicine and intention. It's real. It's witching, and we don't do witching. If you do that kind of stuff, you're a witch, and you're not going to last long. In Washoe
mm.
country, we had practitioners here, and if and the old people would take you under their wing when you were young, teach you that stuff. But if you showed traits of a person that doesn't need to have that kind of power, and you could go bad, they get rid of that power, get rid of your your need for that, so you
Oh
don't
wow.
become that. Learn
If
learn the medicine ways. Oh, you were asking earlier about the how did you learn the traditions and stuff. Well, on the process of oral history, as you start to get trust within the community and families, then the elders start to teach you, start to share with you. all the families of the Washoe, when they were all on the way out, I became their friends because my father was connected to all of them. And so a lot of families, younger generation, didn't like to see me over their house because their elders were talking to me and they didn't like it. How come you don't tell us? You have that guy around here. How come you're telling him? Say, because you don't listen. Or leave him alone. You go play. You don't want to listen. He does. And he used to always put me in a heart in a way that younger generation would treat me bad out there when the old people wasn't around. But they were just jealous because I was learning some information that they couldn't get to. But the old people would only give you information if they trusted that you had the integrity to hold on to that the Washoe way that we have is only for Washoe interests, not just Washoe people that are absorbed like this. They got the same interest. So
Okay, let me ask you this then. So you talked, and I'm glad you said what you said about the no witching and everything like that, because a lot of people have, a lot of people might have misconceptions about Native American spirituality and all these things. But I like when you said if someone has their own convictions and their own strength, they wouldn't be able to be affected by this. So what are things we can do to build up our strength that we're not affected by negative forces according to the Native American traditions? Because I know a lot of artists would like to know, like, what did the Native Americans do to strengthen themselves from the negativities in the world, and what can we learn from your culture about how to protect ourselves from these negative forces?
tobacco ceremony and song.
And
Once you
so,
do
okay.
tobacco ceremony, you're talking to spirit. That's everlasting. You can always get the help. And song is always going to make you unified with others because you can't sing a round dance by yourself. You'll get dizzy dancing around in a circle.
Yep,
So
yep.
those two things,
Mm.
you practice those two things, and you already have the clue on how to return the light back into your own life. It's
Wow.
not up to anybody to do it. It's up to you, but you just have to have the connection to do it. And by doing a tobacco ceremony, that's the beginning. Like we would say, the sweat lodge. When you cleanse yourself in the sweat lodge and you purify yourself with the rock, with the sweat. My brother Robert Whitemount up in South Dakota, he uh he told me he's got a Lakota brother up there that living by him, and he says you go to sweat, and his Celtic brother says, "Hey, I want to go sweat with you, learn some songs and stuff." And the Robert told him, "Well, we go in there, we'll go in and sweat and see what the spirits say to you." So we go in there. He goes in there, and they do their thing. After a while, the Celtic guy, after a few sweats, he starts singing his song. He asked Robert, "What's that song mean?" Robert says, "I don't know. I'm not Celtic." He says, "Do you have any old people back home?" The guy said, "Yeah, I got an old uncle. He's 80 years old. I'll be calling." They called him, put him on speakerphone. And that the guy says, "Hey, uncle," he says, I learned a song. He says, "I want to share with you. I just ask you if you know it." The guy sang this song. And then when he was done, his uncle said, "Where did you learn that song?" That's a Celtic ceremonial song.
Oh,
So
wow. So it came
this
from the
guy didn't
Celt.
learn it in Celtic country. He learned it in this country. But he didn't learn Washoe.
Mm.
He didn't learn Sioux. He learned Celtic in this country. Now you tell me how that worked.
Oh, wow.
See, our relationship to our bloodline and our DNA and our inheritance all has to come with uh, where where we have to continue that what is missing. When we were intruded upon, they took us away from what we were supposed to be doing. Those of us that remembered, we're supposed to help people so that they can get to where they can remember and go back to that place where the land, animal, air, and water is saying, "Where's those that were supposed to help us and speak for us when we couldn't speak for ourselves?"
Okay, Mr. Monique, we have some questions from the audience, right? Our audience really wants to know about Christianity in relationship to the Native American people. A lot of people are asking questions about Christianity and its relationship. So can you tell us your history with Christianity? What it did to natives? Is it a good thing, a positive thing? How do the native community view Christianity? Because a lot of our audience does want to know that.
Well, a
Was
lot
it
of Christians here
damaging?
that Washers that turned into Christians, they're just like the white people now. I mean, I can't say white people because there's many different nationalities in the American culture, but for the people that came here, they killed us under the sword or the Bible. Either you read the Bible or you died. So
Wow.
you had no choice. So people that chose the Bible, they became like those people that did what they did to them. They point the finger and they look at you for what you got. Now, some of my old traditional elders, one of the old women told me one time, says, I was talking bad about the church or saying something funny about it, and they said, don't talk like that. And he said, you know, if a person is lost and they lost their way, the Bible is a good thing because it can help a person return back to the spirit. It shows you how if you know what know what it's telling you. It says so with the native people like us Washas, we're born with the Bible in our heart. So all we have to do is remember our practices and traditions, and we're following the Bible. One time I did this, I would travel from Northern California back into Reno. 3 rides I hitchhiked. And the first 2 rides were just like easy. The last one, I had to walk a long ways. And then when I finally got a ride, I said I couldn't walk no more, so I used my tobacco. And you're not supposed to use your tobacco for these kind of stuff unless you really have to, but you still have to pay for it if you use it that way. So I needed a ride. So got my tobacco out, it went like that. Right when my hand went down, this guy, I know I was on this off on ramp. This old man pulled right in front of me. Got out, pulled out of the truck, opened the lid up, threw my stuff in back, go jump in. I jumped in. You know, he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Well, I'm going to Gardnerville." He said, "Well, I'm going to Reno first if you don't mind riding with me, but I live in Gardnerville." So here it was. Got the ride from someone from Gardnerville, but he's got to go to Reno first. He was an retired pilot from United. You know, after he picked me up, I started talking to him. I talked from Sacramento all the way to Bird Eye. I don't know how far you guys think that is, but that's like 150 miles.
Yeah,
150 miles. I talked for that long, and I all of a sudden I quit talking. I got close and I ran out of words. The old man
no
said,
way.
the old man, I didn't run out of words.
Oh,
The
okay.
old man, he was old, and he says, you know, I'm a Christian. He said, I'm born and raised that way. He said, I have to reference back to the Bible a lot of times to keep myself in alignment. He said, but you know, I have to read the Bible all the time and things like that. He said, but you know, you natives, you're born with that Bible in your heart. He says, you know, everything you said from Sacramento to here, I could give you verses in the Bible. Because I was just coming from holy ground. I was coming from a medicine people's place that were on a holy trek to bring back information that was connecting a lot more of the Western position in order for us to return back to the circle. So
A lot of the ladies that I ended up helping were Christian ladies, and they also liked their tradition. So they kind of had that both thing going.
yeah, and so,
Oh,
so that's what
so
that's
so
what the
so
old man said. The old man said I had verses in the Bible, and that's what one guy told me again after that about
so
the native people having it in their heart.
okay, so let me ask you this then. So in the native country, are most people like nominally Christian now, but they still practice their traditional religion at the same time? Because I know, what I'm aware of, I know in Latin America, a lot of African slaves when they were brought over, they converted to Christianity, but they still practice their traditional religions both together. They would still have like Santeria and things like that. And I know even now in the Mexican natives, a cult has reemerged called Santa Morta, which people are saying has connections to the ancient Aztec deities and fusion with Catholicism or Christianity. So I want to know what is the current condition of religiosity in Native American community? Like, are people are doing both? Are they nominally Christian but they're still practicing their religion, or do some people just totally reject Christianity? Like, give us a little bit more about that
No,
because the audience would love to know. Just only the audience would love to know this type of things.
It's pretty much all of those, like Jeff said, it's pretty much all of them. But the foundation is the artificial design that's coming in is trying to make us slaves, both spiritually and physically. And so, what the design system that we're coming into now, uh, the Christianity is just one part of it, but it was a very major part of taking, of lying. Anybody who has ever church ridden here in my country was a liar because they used the church and they used that foundation of encroachment. But now that they said they had to do it because they were united in the world together because God said that. Well, that might be true, but why are they going around the globe again and making everybody slaves now? You know, one thing is bringing people together because God told you to. Another thing is having a man's agenda and then calling it God's will. So as you see the native people adopting to different ways, like my people here, a lot of them that became Christian Bible toters, they are brown-skinned people, so there's no difference between Indian. There's traditional Indians and then there's Christian Indians, but what's the difference? They're all Indian, right? Well, the Christian Indians aren't practitioners of cultural ways to protect the land, animal, and water. They're practicing spirituality that's saying that they're God people, but they don't have to recognize nature. And they can eat all the food and build all these houses and build and repairing areas because that's what everybody else does. But we're natives, so we can do whatever we want too. Well, no.
or they can cut the pine nut trees down for Christmas
Yeah,
trees.
our own people are cutting our own food source tree down for Christmas tree so that they can have a Christmas tree in their house, which is a tree that takes 100 years to begin to produce seeds that we can eat during the winter and survive, because you can eat 6 of these seeds and drink water and you can survive through the winter. 6 seeds a day and drink water and you can survive through the winter. Now you tell me that people are off track when they're cutting the baby pine nut trees down for a Christmas tree, when I think if you really want to think about Christmas, didn't Jesus have a silver tip in his house? I mean, that's what I would think, because you can top a silver tip and it'll keep growing. But pine nut trees, you can't do that. You kill it. So I don't know. I don't make
It's
no
a
sense
pagan
where
holiday,
this
you know.
Christmas tree came from for myself. Why a person would kill a tree to put it in the house and decorate it.
Isn't that the most insane thing?
And then after Christmas is over, then you throw it away.
Throw it away. You got millions of tree carcasses all over the street everywhere. Like, okay, we're done. Thank you for the blessing of your tree, and now it's out here being thrown away. It's just, you know.
But actually, they could have do it all mulch, put it in a big mulch pile that people use it for their gardens and their ground cover during the springtime. You know, but people aren't thinking about that. They're just thinking about disposal, waste. They're not thinking about even the. I mean, everything we're buying, like this marijuana thing. Everybody's going to dispensaries and buying all this marijuana. You know, the packages they're getting and stuff are more expensive than weed itself.
Facts.
I mean, containers and these little pens and stuff they get, they're being thrown all over because they're disposable. What are people thinking? You can't. This is insanity. When you're talking about people being crazy, I think this world's insane. Everybody's insane living in a world that they believe is going to go somewhere else. It's not. We have the first human genocide, and we're communicating that to each other now. And we want to say we're on track.
So how does spirit talk to you?
Yeah, that's a good question.
You know, a lot of people read the Bible and they go, that's it for me. You know, I just find a passage and there it is. Another person might try to establish dreams as a conversation with the Creator.
Okay, so let him ask the question. Did you hear his question?
Yeah, how does spirit talk to you?
There you go.
Um, if you're asking me, I believe
Why
it's
not?
through meditation. So when one sits quietly and goes inside, that's the way to connect to what's inside, and I think it's within. You have to listen to the
Yep,
voice within. It's not outside, if that makes sense. That's my
it does,
take
but
on it.
I just think that it's everything, you know.
Mm.
Like,
I think of it this way: when people think about the
it's nice.
relationship that we have and what we're supposed to be doing on Earth, why were we given the body with certain mechanisms in there that connect us up to the relationship of our connection from heaven and earth? The pineal gland is a key. The heart is the other key. The brain
Mm.
is the third key. So you got the pineal gland that receives from the creator, spirit. Then you have the heart that filters the bullshit. And then you go up into the head and allow the brain to decide how the heart wants to deal with it. If you're
Mm.
aligned with spirit. If you're not aligned with spirit, you'll take the pineal gland and not go through the heart. You'll just go straight directly to the brain. Eliminate the heart from the equation because the heart is so much you have to know. Oh man, if you do this, you'll have that happen. If you do this, you'll have that happen. I don't want to know all that. I just want to do this. Well, you should know that because if you do that, that's going to happen.
Okay,
Right.
I got some more questions from our audience. Our audience wants to know about like spirits. Like they're asking about like spirits. You know, in the native tradition, are you in contact with like earth spirits, water spirits, or different spirits? They want to know. They're asking questions about native spirituality and like and if you have spirits and beings that you're able to contact with. Can you tell us anything about spirits and if they're good or bad or anything like that? Our audience.
My partner is going to take that one. Let him answer. I'll answer the question too, but I want him to tell because he's practitioner.
Wait a minute, what's the question again?
They're asking about spirits. They want to know about native spirits and the native culture about what spirits are people in contact with spirits. Like let's say you go to the sweat lodge. Do you see spirits? Do you have river spirits, earth spirits, tree spirits? Like what spirits and what is your communication with the spirits, with the spiritual beings in the spiritual world? They want to know about the culture and about spiritual beings and any contact that is had with any beings outside of regular you know what I'm
Well,
saying, just any
if you
spiritual
have
being.
contact with you know, going outside and being in nature, and you know how to quiet yourself so that you can actually hear something because your brain isn't full of so much other things that are filled up with. And then maybe dreams will occur and things will start revealing themselves to you. I mean,
Okay.
that's how it was for me.
They also asking about ancestors. Like what are your connections to your ancestors? Do you still see the ancestral spirits? They want to know about ancestral spirits too.
Yeah, you know,
what
let me put it this way. You know, there's all different forms of the metaphysical world. You got ancestors, you got loved ones, you got spirit helpers, you got uh, uh, souls that haven't left the earth yet because the doorway has been shut for so long. The keepers of the coastal doorways to allow the dead to leave earth has been shut because the missionaries took those tribes out. So the keepers of the
Mm.
door haven't been opening the doors. So we got like a pressure cooker situation going on here. So people that are having trouble with spirits and ghosts and stuff like that, that's because we got a overabundance of a backup of souls that haven't left. So they're what they call unrested,
Hungry ghosts.
hungry ghosts. So
Wow.
all they're doing is
Yes.
make trouble. But there's a man down in one of the part of the coastal ranges where he opens the door once in a while. He knows how, But he says you can't leave the door open too long. He said because the other side tries to come back this way. So
Mm.
as you open the door for a while, you relieve the pressure, then you shut the door. But there's so much that has to be done that it has to be done more and more, and it takes a lot out of them to do that. So, and a lot of spiritual people in this country, everybody wants us to heal everybody, but nobody wants to realize we need love in order to do that, not money. I mean, we could use the money
Mm.
because we can eat stuff for that, but the fuel that a good medicine carries is from the people themselves.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing that you specifically said hungry ghosts, because we have this in the Buddhist tradition as well, and
You know what?
Buddha.
it's a,
Yep.
yep, it's exactly a realm of rebirth that you know people are trapped and they're hungry, and we actually offer our merit to them. So if we do
Uh-huh.
something good,
The
um,
code.
yeah, we will offer our merit to the hungry ghosts. So hopefully that they could receive merit and have a higher rebirth. That's
There's
amazing.
different ways of handling it, but it's interesting that the Tibetan Buddhists, in particularly from Bhutan, um, they just they have a way to handle different things like the Native American things, but they
Mm,
have so many more elaborate, things like their offering is like, 100 bunches of herbs and different things, where we just burn cedar or tobacco.
right,
And,
right.
I was amazed by it, but they also recognize, the real thing when they see it. So I really enjoyed being around them up in Mount Shasta area. They came and we did some stuff, built a stupa for a guy that passed. So
Oh wow.
yeah, it was really eye opening.
Okay.
And if
Um,
one can stop, like you're talking about, if you can completely stop your internal dialogue, then you can send those ghosts to the light.
Right.
But if you can't do that and you haven't reached that, then you have too much internal dialogue and you could get ate up yourself.
Mm.
So that's a serious deal.
And
okay.
that's a fact, and that's one of the big teachings that Buddha gave us was how to quiet that the inner mind, through mindfulness and in experiencing the breath and the life that breath gives us. That we're always with our breath and connecting to that. So yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have another question from our audience, guys. We have a question about a lot of people were asking about dream catchers. What about dream to teach us about dream catchers, dream catching? The audience wants to know about dream catchers. The people want to know.
Art's the pro on that one.
Yeah. So to go into the dream catcher situation.
Well, there's a lot to the Dreamcatcher. I don't know the original where they came from. I think the Cheyennes or one of them tribes over there originated it, but they made them for people that were having bad dreams, and if they hung it up when they were sleeping, that they would catch the dreams, and it would filter out the bad ones.
To me, the bad dreams are someone trying to show you something on the other side. They're trying to, and so they scare you, and then you're supposed to find out what your ability to get out of the mess that you get put in. And so you might fly, which that's what I do is fly away. So there's other kind of methods that you get taught from the other side that come to show you stuff, ancestors,
Okay.
whatever, angels.
Well, we're building the Dreamcatchers now, Jose and I, Robert. 144 life-size Dreamcatchers all over the world that are 9 foot tall and 33 feet around. And the copper weave is above you, uh, webbing, and they call it a manifestation station where all cultures can come there and have a place to communicate. And doorways open to the cosmos and the earth relationship, so that when we're there together, we can communicate and receive at the same time with no separation of any kind of division whatsoever. So it's like a school incubator school in a sense where we're showing people how they can come together without having to be under a controlled concept. You know, it's all about having the freedom to speak spirit, speak and sing the songs, and be loved by love for who you are, and for what you bring and bring to earth, not how much money you got or who you know, or who you can outdo, you know. So you know,
Mm.
our relationship, even when it comes time, what you say about the spirits, communicating with the spirit, you know, a lot of times when people are uh, going through life, you kind of think sometimes you want to see spirits. I myself, I hear spirits more than I see them because I'm always constantly wanting to be the vehicle or the be at service for any and everything that's metaphysical, that is a good thing for the humans to learn. So I get so much information from the animals, from the plants, from life itself, that I've summed up what I have to do here on Earth, and it's trying to give people enough information to allow them to not be afraid of what they already know.
That's
And
deep. Not be afraid of what you already know. Everybody here, they say he's here to teach people to give enough information to not be afraid of what you
not to be
already
afraid
know.
because they already know. You know, why tell you something that you know, come on, you know. And if we were to sit in circles with each other and we were to talking circle, a lot would transpire because a lot of people would realize we're talking with our face and not our guts.
Okay. Yeah, for the audience, anybody wants to ask a question, you can put the question on the live chat. Anybody wants to ask a question, and if you have a serious question, we'll send it over everybody. So everybody saying thank you for sending your questions. That's the reason why we're here. Anybody have a serious question, we'll definitely send it over if it's a serious question. Somebody wants to ask about I don't okay. Somebody asks, do wolves play a significant part in this Native American spirituality? From anything you know, do you? What's the significance of wolves? They're asking about wolves. The
Oh
wolves have a
yeah,
special.
if the wolf comes to you, that's letting you know. You know, everybody's a lone wolf in this world, but we all have family. So when you see the wolf, it's telling you to return home to the family, to remember your job of protecting and providing, or to be protected and be provided for, so that you can do the job that you're supposed to do. Such as us men on earth are supposed to protect the women so they can be strong in their voice. We're not doing that. So that's, in my mind, that's what the wolf, when he does, sometimes he comes to you to tell you, return to the family.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So the wolf is a family thing. Okay, before I forget, I just want I want to go to some crops that Native Americans that grew, or First Nations of of what we call the Americas grew. I know we went very far, but I just want to add some of the contribution. I know we emphasize, especially with Mountain Eagle, that everybody's responsible for the civilization that we're in. Everybody has a contribution, and nobody's contribution is more than others. And this even repeated by Mount Eagle, and it's also repeated by the great Ray Fat, and everybody's watching us. If you want to know more about it, this is a recommendation that Mountain Eagle gave me. He said look up the work of Ray Fat, and he has a good video online about things they teach in school. But I just want to get to some of the crops just for educational purposes. A lot of things came from pre-Columbian the pre-Columbian Americas, from the First Nations, from the continents we call America today. Amaranth is one. Amaranth, it was domesticated in Mesoamerica. Avocados, right? Avocados. I love avocados. I love Mexican food and guacamole. I love guacamole. You know, beans. All bean, common beans, different type of beans, lima beans. All these were from the First Nations of the New World, or what we call the New World because of our education that was based on English. You know what I'm saying? Cacao, even if you're from West Africa, you know that's a big crop in West Africa, especially in Ghana and Ivory Coast. But it has origin where in the Americas. It's really from the Americas, but it was brought over. They call it the Columbian
Yep.
Exchange. That's what we call it. Unfortunately, that's what we call it. We call it the Colombian exchange, but that's part of our history. These things were exchanged back from the First Nations of the so-called Americas, of what we call the Americas today, back to the across the Atlantic to the old world, what we call Africa, Europe, Asia, right? Cassava, like me right now, even me, in my culture, cassava is a staple food for us. In Sierra Leone, where I'm from originally, cassava is staple food. We make cassava to make fufu and gari. That's the two staple foods that we make out of the cassava plant. But actually, our staple food that we eat cassava, it actually comes from the Americas, the Native Americans, the First Nations of what we call the Americas today. Brought that over to Africa. Brought it over. It was brought over in the Colombian chain. So cassava. So everybody's African likes the fufu with the made of
Don't try to
cassava.
put it in the way
Hey,
because you're
that
not gonna
came
do
from
it
the
right.
First Nations.
Gotta
You know,
lift it
chia
up. That's
pet.
all.
Everybody know chia pets and chia. So chia came from Native Americans. Maize, corn. So everybody knows corn. The corn we eat today, the corn, that maize corn, that's from the native. That's from the America. That's from the pre-Columbian First Nations of America. You know, papaya. We eat papaya. I like papaya. We know that. Peanuts, even peanuts. It was first in South America, in Bolivia. Peanuts, right?
Yep.
Peppers. Yep.
Peanuts,
Oh,
guavas, chili peppers, chocolate, vanilla beans, coffee, also things like honey, using honeybees for honey, using honey for medicinal purposes, how to raise turkeys, how to raise llamas, how to cotton.
yeah,
Hey,
cotton.
Probably the
excuse
biggest
me,
type
guys.
of yeah,
Excuse me, guys. I
yes,
don't mean to butt in. Don't mean to butt in like this, but I have to get going here. I have to go get a truck, and uh, we do another
of
thing
course,
like this again another
Yeah, of
time
course.
for me
Yeah,
because you're gonna get
absolutely,
more
of
interest of people
course.
wanting more. So
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
thank
We're
you so
honored
much.
to have you. We're forever grateful. Hopefully, we could have more conversation soon. And
Yep.
yeah,
well, I mean, they're gonna
have
get
a
more interest.
wonderful
People are
night.
gonna ask you questions. So
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
questions have been going all night, all night.
Yep.
So we're try to pick some
Oh
ones
yeah,
that
yeah,
weren't
yeah.
too
So
daunting. So
everybody, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jen.
yeah, that's okay. So yeah, we'll get in back to the list, but let's let Mr. Eagle go,
Yeah,
and
there you go.
we thank you so much and bless you and thank you
thank you.
so.
Thank you
Bless
so
you
much.
guys.
Thank you so much, Mr. Montego. We will definitely have you again. We'll call you. We'll make another one because we haven't even scratched the surface yet. We have so
Yeah,
much more
Okay,
to
you
talk
gotta put.
about.
Is this live or you put this on anything or?
Yeah, it's live
no,
right
it's
now.
been
So
yeah, we're
it's live right
live
now.
and we're gonna keep it
Okay,
up.
because
So
I got a couple other guys like Jose might want to get on the next time and whatnot. So if it's live, then he can watch what we did and he can see where we're at.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, definitely,
absolutely.
definitely. It's a lot.
We'll send you the link to the video
Okay.
that will stay on
Yeah,
YouTube.
Yep.
yeah, because Jose, he's a Mayan timekeeper out of Central America, and you'd really like
Oh
to hear his
wow.
opinion.
We
Yeah, that
really
would
love
be
to.
great.
Yep.
Yeah, the Mayans actually gave us the number 0. I was going to get into that. So yeah, big up the Mayans for introducing the world to mathematics. So yes, thank you so much and have a great night.
Yeah. Have a great
All
night.
right, you guys too.
And tell Mr. Jeff too. Mr. Jeff, thanks for joining us, Mr. Jeff. Mr. Jeff
Yep.
Yeah, his dog was raising heck in the car, so he had to go out.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, 'cause
okay.
everybody was talking about Mr. Jeff, but yeah, Mr. Jeff is Mountain Eagle's friend. He's not a native, but he's friends with native, and he works with natives, so he's part of the native family, and he's cool, and we don't
He's
mind that he's not a native. He can still
Honorary.
come and talk to
he's
Yep.
a
us. Yeah, he can still come talk to
he's
us.
a
Yeah,
hell
of
of a
course.
he's a
Honorary.
hell of a practitioner too because he showed me some stuff, and it's like, spirits are really talking to this guy. Man. I like that. So blessings,
Mm.
guys.
Bless you. Take care.
Listen,
Okay,
thank
take
you.
care.
Just hit the leave studio button and that will bring you out.
Okay, hold on.
Awesome. So yeah, let me just ramble off some of the, oh yeah, so people think I'm lying about The Mayans of Mexico appear to have been the first to use zero in mathematics. Scholars believe that Asians traveled across the Pacific Ocean and learned about zero from the Mayans. So you could go look that up.
Of course, something is going to be controversial, but we're putting it out. We're not saying believe everything we're saying for just because we say it. Everybody go do your own research too. You know what I'm trying to
Right,
say?
right, right.
Everybody.
Blood transfusions were given to us by the natives. Needles, IV needles, injection needles, were actually made by First Nations. Also, things like, oh, the government in America, that's a huge one. I would love
Yeah,
to get into
I was
that
gonna get to
more.
that.
Yeah, I would love to
I
get
was gonna
into
get,
that one more.
we was gonna get to, I was gonna get to all those stuff, but I didn't know he left. I mean, I thought we probably would go to 12, but yeah,
Yeah, no, that's
I was
fine
gonna get,
if you
no,
want
I'm
to.
not saying that, no, I'm saving that for next time. We'll get to the government and everything for next time. We'll say
Mm,
it next time when they come back. We'll talk about the government and all the other stuff.
yeah, that would be interesting. So yeah, so that was awesome. Big up, man. That was a good show.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's from the. I'm gonna. Um.
I'm gonna go back to the food thing when we bring it back again because it's some good stories about peppers. It's some okay. Did you watch the Ray Fat stuff, right? You watched the Ray Fat stuff?
Yes, that was. I
Okay,
put the
yeah.
link to that video in the YouTube
Okay, yeah,
chat.
yeah.
Everybody, or
Peep
did
that.
I? Or did I not? Let me see. I thought I did. Oh yeah, I put the link to that video in the chat.
Yeah,
So everybody should go watch that. Ray Fadden is pretty cool.
yeah,
um.
Ray Fat. Yep.
Yeah. So let's see. So yeah. I don't know what you want to do. You want to wrap it up or?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. I mean, let's wrap up this let's wrap up this session and whatever you want to do after that is different. You know what I'm trying to say? But let's wrap up the special. You know what I'm saying? So
All
we
right.
let's cut the video off on the special, and then if you want to come back on, it's up to you. But for the special, let's wrap it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds good. Yeah, I want to
yeah,
get into. I'm gonna actually do some research on the mathematics too, because yeah, I would like to know. I'm reading here that under Native American contributions that's listed under there. So it'd be interesting to see,
yeah, yeah.
because I know a lot of people, oh, they're like, oh, we did this first, and everybody's
You know?
ego gets hurt that maybe you actually didn't, but I think it's, in a moment of truth, it's appropriate to put the ego to the side
Mm.
and acknowledge,
Oh
where
yeah.
these things came from and the contributions to the world. So yeah, actually,
And
what
then
is it?
we can say this for next time. Because look, because he wants to keep talking, so we can just keep going with this. We can make it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That's
We can keep
awesome.
going, especially now with you got StreamYard now, so we could keep going for as much as they want to talk, and we could keep bringing up these stuff. We could
No, I
we could
didn't
table
use
everything.
wiki. Mm.
Yeah, we could table everything we want to talk about for the next time because we still have so much to talk about. You know what I'm saying? I still have so much on the docket, so we have enough to talk about for another episode. So basically, I think this is going to become a small little series.
Yeah, that's
It's
cool.
gonna be serious. Yeah, it's gonna be serious for everybody. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm sorry for everybody's a short one because our guest had to go, but he definitely he's definitely our friend, and we'll definitely have him back, and we'll keep answering the questions, and we'll keep on raising the awareness for Native American issues. So everybody, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us.
mm.
Appreciate
Yeah,
everybody
definitely.
coming.
Actually, yeah. Let me see. The first evidence that we have of zero is from Sumerian culture in Mesopotamia some 5,000 years ago. There's a slanted double wedge was insert between cuneiform symbols for numbers. I'm gonna just type this, whatever. I'll copy and paste this website into the chat. But yeah, But yeah, I would definitely like to get into that. So,
Yeah.
Mesopotamia about 3 BC, and the Mayans invented it independently around 4 AD. It was later devised in India in the mid 5th century and spread to Cambodia near the 7th century, and into China and Islamic countries at the end of the 8th. So, yeah, I think that the number 0 was way before. Um,
The Indians got it because no, but see, but
yeah,
now, yeah, but why would I
no.
say that the multiple cultures could have developed it independently? Because
Mm,
it's a basic thing. So what I'm trying to say that no matter what, everybody would have got to that one. You know, it's one of the things that's the kind of a human thing. But it just shows that the Native Americans did have advanced mathematics even earlier than other people did. Even if other cultures invented it or came to that realization independently, it still shows their sophistication by being able to come to it and come to it so early.
right, right.
Yep.
Exactly. Just like calendars and things like that. Like we know Mayans had a pretty accurate calendar. They had pretty accurate age of the earth. That's why it would be awesome to get into his friend who's a Mayan. That wow, like how amazing would that be? But
We definitely. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to
yeah,
save everything
yeah.
for more episodes because I'm trying to turn this into. We could turn this into a program. We could turn this into a
Hmm.
series. Turn this into a big series. So yeah, we might as well save everything. We might as well use everything to make that outline for what we're gonna do for next time.
Right, right. Well, actually, since it's pretty early, I'm gonna end this live, and I think I'm gonna do the other live.
Yeah,
I think I'll do it right now. Like I'll
you
just
might as
start
well.
it.
Yep.
Yeah, give me.
Yep.
Then we'll get into the
Yeah.
thing that happened in Pakistan. So yeah,
Yeah. On this one.
I'll
Yep.
end this one, and I'll start up another one. Give me like 5 minutes. So all right, big up
Okay. But
everyone. Thank you,
okay.
Mr.
Yeah.
Pela.
Perfect. Yes. Because I want to make this a Pacific program so I can send it out as a
Mm,
Pacific program for natives. You know what I'm trying to say?
mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right then, everybody. Thanks a lot for our first. This is our
Definitely.
first. This is our second. Well, this is our after things. I'm gonna say that Thanksgiving was the first one, but this is our first. This is our first true native talk. So thank you. We hope we're gonna do many more native talks. We're gonna have Mountain Eagle's gonna be back. We're gonna bring his friends back, and we're really gonna. It seems like y'all loved it. Even the people who didn't think they were gonna love it, I think they ended up liking it when we asked the questions. Yes, and always send us your questions. Of course, we're only gonna answer serious questions to the people. We're not gonna give these grown people. You know what I'm saying? We're only gonna tell them the serious questions.
Yeah, man. We
The
gotta keep
elders,
it
yeah,
classy. Gotta
yeah, you
keep
gotta
it
keep it
classy.
classy, yeah. But
Yeah.
any serious question you have, we'll definitely address it to the people. So thanks a lot, and we'll definitely do this again. Just check for notifications. Check for notifications. Comment, and subscribe to Jen Wallace. Check for notifications. We'll have many more productions. You have many more productions together, and then we'll keep this wave going. So thanks
Yeah.
everybody.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. With that, everyone, yeah, give me about 5 minutes and we'll start up a new live. Big up, big up, big up. Peace.